Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. It's Tech Talk time once again, which means we are once again back in good old Manor Lords, and we are going to be having a look at the Tech Talk stuff. I thought what I would do now is I would talk about what I want to do in Manor Lords before we get into the comments of last time. If you don't know, this is the Tech Talk. It's a podcast where we talk about War Thunder and any other questions or comments that people have. But also at the same time, of course, we do play a bit of Manor Lords because I think it's kind of relaxing. And while playing War Thunder, I have to kind of concentrate a bit too much on the game. So I find it a little bit harder to do in terms of all this stuff. So what we're going to do today is I want to get this large storehouse and large granary ready. I want to get this field ready for next year because you can see here we're in the spring. So crops grow, possible droughts, and then harvesting in autumn, and then we go into next year. So the idea is to get the farm ready and also to order some sheep because we did get the multiplying sheep, and we'll start using that to get some income. Hey, Diaboli, nice to see you. Hopefully, you're doing good. But yeah, so we'll be going through the comments of the last Tech Talk. If you want something mentioned when it comes to the Tech Talk or anything like that, this would be, the time. You just stick it in the comments, or we do live stream it. I don't live stream it on YouTube just because of copyright stuff when it comes to like certain sounds and things. Sometimes YouTube can be a bit annoying when it comes to copyright, so just got to be a bit careful in terms of that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, I want to continue to upgrade some of these houses when people are living in them, and then also start getting some more food from the farms, and then also start developing some of these so we can start building more stuff to make things a bit easier for people. So yeah, that's the idea, and also get our trade going at our trading post while also sorting out the large storehouse and the large granary, which will be used for the farming stuff and all of that. So yeah, let's get started. Let's get into it while we wander about. The first point, we have 55 comments today, so a pretty decent amount to get through. We'll have to see how it goes, but hopefully it should be okay. Oh dear. This guy, oh yeah, there's nobody actually living there, that's why. So yeah, a lot of these houses, weirdly enough, nobody actually lives in them, so that's a little bit of a problem. Got to be a bit careful in terms of all this stuff because you can see here that the people who live here are 0, so we can't upgrade it because none of these exist because nobody lives here. So until we get the trade going, we can't really do any much with it. But the more burgage plot level 2s we have, the better it is because of that fact. So yeah, we need to sort that out. So let's get started. The first one is from Solid Snake, a classic. Isn't Metal Gear like redoing a game or something? I'm pretty sure they are at some point, which would be really cool. Really nice to see, actually. And then let's see. My solution for top rank cast problem is somewhat similar to your solution, Tech. Increase the amount of SB to get in a plane. It would help to keep some people on the ground. Also, I think removing mid-air spawns and have all planes spawn on the airfield would help a little bit too, so people on the ground can get out of their spawns. I don't like Gaijin's idea of adding mid-range to long-range anti-air to solve the cast problem. It would just reverse the problem where pilots in ground battles will complain that cast is pointless to play in ground battles, ground forces. I did find limiting how many planes in the air kind of interesting in some matches. It is a problem that your whole team is in the air and a small team on the ground, but it's not happening every match to be a major problem, so I don't think this is a solution for CAS. The only issue I have about the limitation thing is there are people who just want to play CAS, right? So if you add the limitation stuff, then they'll just leave. Like they'll just straight up just leave the match, which, I mean, if it is just kind of how it is. So you're not going to actually get those like extra people who are going to spawn in. They won't exist because they will just be, not there. So that's a bit of a problem. But it's one of those that definitely could be an issue, but it's not one, at least, that I think about too much. So the other ones, yeah, definitely. Like they could definitely make it so Cass spawns on the ground. That could easily be something that happens. They could also, at the same time, do something else with it. In terms of how it is just increasing the spawn point stuff. Like there's a lot of like micro little solutions they could do, which I feel like would work pretty well. And the major problem I have at the moment is just the fact that I don't see anything being done. You know what I mean? And that is more of the problem. The fact that there's not really anything going on kind of sucks. And I would like it for there to be things going on. I think it's important to actually have stuff always going on, because if you don't, then there is no way that you can actually. I can't follow this merchant. I don't know where he is. The problem with it is you can't ever really do anything about it, right? Because you don't know when. You don't know if they're going to do anything. Like the fact that they've sat there and they've gone, you know what, this is a problem. Like, we know this is an issue, and we're sorry that it's an issue, and they still don't do anything about it. It's just, I don't know, just it irks me the wrong way, I think is probably the way to put it, and that just kind of sucks. I wish that it was different. I wish that they would just do what they do, but yeah, it's not. It doesn't seem to be the case at the moment that that's what's going on. So that to me is a real problem with War Thunder. I know. Hey, Sneaky, nice to see you. Nice to see you too, Teddy. I know for a fact that when it comes to it, there's a lot of issues in terms of like they don't want to screw something up and then everything kind of falls apart. But I think there's a bigger issue in terms of like how they set everything up, which is, of course, if they decide to go one way and it doesn't work, then it's just gonna fall apart. But I would rather they at least took a chance with the top tier stuff, because they haven't done anything with it like at all, which is the problem. Hey J-Man, nice to see you. Nice to see you too, Naruto Champ. Hopefully you're doing good today. Is it bad I instantly knew you were talking about cast balance, only having the context of they acknowledge the problem but won't do anything? Well, not really, because like they at least do something about it, right? This one they've been very, 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 very away from doing stuff, which has just been really weird to see. So that kind of sucks. Hopefully they can, as I said, hopefully in the future they can do something about it though. I hope they can. Like, whether they will or not is, of course, a separate thing, and that just kind of sucks. So, yeah, it's just how it is. Oh dear. Like, what can you do at the end of the day? But hopefully they can sort something out. I think these solutions would work though, or at least to try. Like, I think that's generally a good idea. Then we have Rohan Sanga. Which game is that you're playing at the beginning of the video? This is Manor Lords. We're playing Manor Lords because this is a map I haven't played. They've actually just announced they're going to be adding another map, which is just like one with a huge hill in the middle. So I don't know how it's going to work. Hey, Donny B, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good today. Hopefully life's all right. The poo collector, you were a very good poo collector. Like, I'm not going to lie. You were fantastic. I can't remember in this if you can actually name people after others or not. Let's see. Oh God, what has happened? Oh, this person is in the church. But yeah, we could maybe try and do it. It might be quite fun. Here is Fritz. Yeah, you can only like show their workplace and stuff. But yeah, this is Fritz. He's an ox man, guiding an ox. But yeah, this is Manor Lords. It's actually on sale right now. Steam is doing their big spring sale that they do. So Manor Lords and a lot of other Hooded Horse games. Hooded Horse is a publisher which makes a ton of games that I really like. And Manor Lords is one of them, right? So let's just see where it is. Manor Lords right now is $35 Canadian. and I would say it's definitely worth that. Like, I've got a lot of time out of it and fun. Um, it's one of those which also is technically an early access, but like it's pretty much good enough right now to push forward with. The only issue with it is it's made by one dude, and therefore, you know, it's been 7 years in development, but at this point, it's really, really good. Um, it's really, really nice to see. Oh, tea time. We can do tea time after the thing, after the tech talk. But yeah, they make a ton of different stuff. Or sorry, they publish a ton of different stuff like Nova Roma, Super Fantasy Kingdom, which is actually really cool. I don't know if it's out yet though. They also do stuff like Drill Keeper and Fog and many other things. Like they do a lot of like games like this. They also do the Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. If you've ever seen that game, that one's actually really cool. And also Old World, which generally works very well. So a lot of like kind of strategy games, which are pretty fun. Hey Juan, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good today. Oh, we have a new family. Oh, lovely. So yeah, the generally, actually, I'm just gonna put another family in the trading post. We need the trading post to start like going now, since we don't have a ton of other stuff to do. So yeah, if you like kind of like this is the whole map, right? And there's multiple maps that are in the game. You also can make it fighty. If you actually go to the second channel, so the tech second channel, I have a playthrough of not just the one of the first maps, but two of the maps. I think one of them is scheduled to come out. So it means that, you know, you can actually see what's going on, which is pretty cool. So yeah. It's a very fun one. Hey Jim, nice to see you. Like this playthrough is much more chill though. In the other ones, you kind of get you have like an off-map guy who's like sending in armies, and then you have like bandits that fly around. So you have to like create like armed forces. Like you can see here, I can form militias or I can hire mercenaries. And I think right at the end of this one, when we have like crazy money and stuff, I'll show you like all of the different things that you can create, which is really cool. But generally, like it's generally this one, I'm just doing it to kind of relax and chill while we play things. Hey, Sinful Phantom, my day's going pretty good so far. Like we're doing all right at the end of the day. We're just gonna have a bit of fun today. We're gonna be doing some War Thunder later, and then also doing some of this. So it's gonna be very good. I'm very much looking forward to today. Like, no, in general, it's been quite a busy week with a lot of update stuff and a lot of silly things going on. But now it's going very well, so I don't want to remove the road. Oh, damn. I want to get rid of this tree that keeps annoying me. Oh, dear. I need to build this road again. There we go. Make it easier for people to go. But yeah, so what's your other channel? If you type in the chat !links, it gives you the a link tree which has all of the different social media stuff. And then yeah, it's the second channel. It has a ton of stuff on it. Like it basically has all of the other games that we play. So not War Thunder. And yeah, but I pretty much cut up like all the highlights of the live streams. Like, so yesterday we played Company Heroes 3, right? So we did it on hard. That one is going to be up on the channel later on. But there's stuff on that channel which is scheduled until 2027 because we nowadays do so much extra stuff. But it's been really fun. Like, I enjoy it a lot. Hey, Logsmat, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Like, I think it's super important to try and do many different things to kind of just get like a wider perspective. And for me, that's one of the things that I've been focusing on doing, which has been great. And I've been enjoying it. Like, it's been good. We did get the apples. We should start growing some apples somewhere. Maybe when these start actually getting sorted out. But yeah, so that's the general vibe. That's the general thing. And one of the things I can also do now is I can open up another trade wagon. So question is, what do I want to trade? Because I can trade everything I want. Trade berries, apples, sausages. I will want to trade wool at some point, so we should do that. Do you think the Leopard 2A4 is good at 10-7? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the quintessential MBT that is really fun to play. I would highly recommend anybody playing it if they enjoy it. It doesn't do anything bad, which is great. So we have Elex. Hi, Tech. I like the RTS gameplay behind the Tech Talk. If you want a recommendation for another RTS to play behind a future Tech Talk, you should try out Command & Conquer Generals and 0 Hours, since it just had its final update after approximately 20 years after the last update, and the game just got an open sourced. Try out the Rise of Reds mod for the game. So I have played Command & Conquer since I was tiny. I've played pretty much every single Command & Conquer, and at some point, I will on the channel play all of the Command and Conquers. I don't know when it's gonna be, but yeah, that's in like the remit of what I want to do. Hey, Dragon King, nice to see you. Everything's going well, man. So that is something that I want to do, and that will be something that I will do. But the problem with the reason why Manor Lord works well for something like what we're doing here is the fact that it's much more chill and much more relaxed than than doing, you know, the craziness, which is the other side of things. So if I decided what I'm gonna do is I'm going to play something like Command and Conquer during the tech talks, I'm just gonna fully focus on Command and Conquer. Right? I'm not gonna focus on actually playing or sorry, talking through the tech talk, which is why a game like this or why a game like Minecraft, for example, is perfect for like a podcast format, because then what I can do is I can kind of just chill and then I can just kind of play and not really worry about stuff. But if I have to consistently think while I'm playing stuff, which in Command and Conquer or any like RTS, which is much heavier, you need to do. Like for example, we were playing Company of Heroes 3 yesterday because they had their 2-year anniversary, right? And there was a lot of cool stuff in that game. I really enjoy the campaign. When Company of Heroes 2 came out, the main campaign of that, it's actually on the main channel, I think. I didn't enjoy it a lot because I felt it was very ham-fisted, and I also felt like generally they were just pushing a very specific narrative about what happened in Barbarossa, and it wasn't exactly what I would class as like fair, right? It wasn't exactly fantastic, and that kind of sucked. But then they brought out the Ardennes Assault expansion for Company of Heroes 2, and that was amazing. And then basically Company of Heroes 3 took that, you know, took the ideas from, you know, that Ardennes Assault and made it into a full game in that campaign. So I find that really fun. Like really, really, really enjoyable. So for me, that is like up there as one of the better games that we have in terms of kind of World War II strategy. And the fact that all of the missions are different and the fact that all of the stuff is different is just amazing. And I really, really enjoy that game. So yeah, but once again, that is not a game. That is not a game that I can use or I can play while doing the tech talk because I won't be able to focus on it. It's just as simple as that. It's not going to happen because yeah, I will play those games and I have played those games in the past, but I can't do it while doing the podcast stuff because it's just way too much. It's just way too much work to think about everything going on, right? And that's a bit of a problem. So yeah, we will do in the future, but not during a tech talk, basically. Command and Conquer is very fun though, and also EA put all of the EA put all of the Command and Conquers on YouTube, right? Sorry, not YouTube, Steam. They put all the Command and Conquers on Steam, and that means that I think they heavily discount like the collection every so often, which is pretty cool. Yeah, but making the older ones open source is really nice, and I think it's really cool. I'm looking forward to see what people do with it. I wish that with stuff like Supreme Commander, for example, they did kind of the same thing. I think that would be really awesome. So then we have Thunder Rednu. Solving the cast, in my opinion, is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Add in practice belts back to all fighters and interceptors and reduce costs for plane spawns that only have IR, semi-active, and active radar while only using practice belts. What? No ordnance or cast weapons. Reasons: with such low pen belts, you can only realistically damage planes. Not enough to kill them, but enough to make them take evasive action to reduce cast effectiveness. This should mostly be possible without seriously hurting the ground experience, as in most cases, planes are better SPA than SPAA. Practice belts would do little damage to tanks, while still being able to at least damage planes, with the exception to ground open tops, which in my opinion is not a bad trade-off. I suppose you could do it, but instead of doing that, right, once again, you could just lower the costs. Increase rewards for shooting down aircraft. Simple. Getting reward for killing ground targets in CAS is already nerfed, but increasing the rewards for killing aircraft would encourage more SPA and fighter use. Just reward people for doing it. More people should do it. I mean, yeah, maybe. The other thing is, I usually don't. Whenever I see CAS wandering about, I usually don't actually see a lot of I don't usually see like the lack of AA. Like sometimes there is, like when somebody gets into a CAS early and you don't have an AA, but a lot of the time I don't see like a lack of AA. I just see that AA getting absolutely hammered. Like and just getting absolutely beasted upon, you know. And that obviously is more of an issue, at least when I think about it. So that is more of a problem. At least yeah, as I see it. So that kind of sucks. But I mean, sure. Like I've got no issues with that. Scale the ordnance properly. Now, for those who say it already scales, it doesn't. The game does not differentiate loadouts based on how many bombs or missiles you have. To put it simply, with all custom loadouts, it's now easier to scale a plane's spawn cost to how much ordnance the plane brings in. Taking one 1,000-pound bomb should be less spawn cost than taking 10 1,000s. If you increase the base spawn cost of CAS currently by, say, 10%, made the spawn cost equivalent to taking at least the amount of ordnance, you could even link it to pylon usage. In general, limiting CAS's abilities to take in more ordnance is going to help the ground battle more. Less ordnance at your disposal means less potential ground kills, more rearms at the airfield. This sort of change could easily reduce the CAS problem. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's basically what it is. This is merely a hypothetical, but a good buff to SPAA. Introduce a height flight restriction for ground battles. Impose a return to battlefield warning when planes approach a height of 7,000 to 8,000, and a leave your vehicle warning at anything above 8,000. Most SPA don't have the generous range to be able to outrange people who go into space. Yeah, I mean, that they're not going to do that, but yeah, it's a hypothetical. All of these would work. I don't think you need to do all of them. I think you could just pick one and then give it a go and then see what else would work going forward. But yeah, I don't actually have any issues with any of those things. I think in general, they're quite nice additions. Hey, look, we got a goat. This is Els, the goat. We're gonna kill him for meat and hides. But yeah, so generally, I don't have any issues with any of that. Like, it all sounds pretty good to me. Like, yeah. Don't see why anybody would have any issues with that stuff. It sounds good. So then we have BF Will Parker. Let's see what Will Parker says. Hey Tech, love a good tech talk. A few glaring issues I have with development right now. 1. Helicopters should not be able to spawn at the start of Ground RB if planes with rockets can't, neither can helicopters. So this is like a two-way thing, right? And this is something that I've seen a lot, and it's a bit of a problem with how it's all set up, right? So one of the problems with helicopters have like a glaring issue with them, right? And the glaring issue is this. Some of them are really good. Some of them are really bad. And in order to make some of them really good, you have to in order to nerf some of them to be not very good, you have to then nerf the ones which are pretty bad to do that. Like, for example, a lot of the early rocket machines, like the Italian heli, or even like the H-1G, these are not vehicles which are like crazy strong, right? This is one of our traders, by the way. They're not like insanely strong vehicles. Like they don't take over matches. They don't do anything crazy. You know, they don't massively like make everything hell to play, right? That's just not really happening in the way that people see it. So for me, when I see something like that, I don't really think it's a good idea to be able to nerf all of those, right? Like I don't think in terms of the game that's a positive thing. I think that's a pretty negative thing, actually, because of how it all works, yeah? So I would prefer if they were going to do something like that, I would prefer if instead of doing that, they decided to do something slightly different and specifically target the bad actors. So instead of doing these like blanket changes to helicopters, work out which ones are too strong at their given method, and then nerf them, right? That's it. You don't have to do anything crazy. Just doing something like that would basically mean that it would be a lot easier to be able to deal with all this stuff, you know? Hey, Lorico, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Like, we all know which vehicles are strong when it comes to this kind of thing. So all they got to do is just think about how to improve those vehicles and improve the others. One of the issues which was brought up in the previous comment is the fact that across the board, like there are issues when it comes to spawn costs, and when it comes to all of these different things, because of how Gaijin kind of sees all this stuff. And I don't think that's a good thing. You know, that generally is not a positive. It's actually very much a negative. And I think it would be better if they did it differently. Like I think targeting specific vehicles instead of just changing their BRs, actually targeting them in a way which would actually force them to use them in different ways, I think would be much better. And instead of just doing it through BR, there's got to be other ways of setting it up. So yeah, that's what I would do. Whether that would work or not, who knows? But at least for me, that's something that has to be at least looked at, right? Because if you don't do something like that, then what's going to happen? Like you're going to have the same problem as you have now, where some vehicles are going to get nerfed and they're going to get absolutely annihilated, and then other ones are just nothing's going to really happen with them, and that just kind of sucks. Did the market distinction stay already? Took max 7 matches, really damn easy. The ground one? Yeah, it's only 20k, right? So it'll get harder next week. 2, I'm a little tired of the community demanding things right now. The way I see it, it is the F-18 was unnecessary for this update. The US already has a 14.0. I think they should have given Japan its 14.0. Also, the obsession with small maps. Well, when it comes to people demanding stuff, that's never going to go away. That's just people being people, right? Like people will always advocate for their best interests. They'll always advocate for all that stuff. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I remember we talked about it last time about not really worrying about what other people think and just kind of doing what you do, because you're never going to have a time where like it's, oh, well, there you go. Isn't this much better? Like I don't have to worry about any of this stuff. And it's like, I suppose, but you're gonna worry about it because that's just kind of how it works. So yeah, like, don't worry about that. Just worry about future stuff in terms of how it all goes, and then you'll be fine with it. I would say no matter what you do or no matter what anybody else does, people are gonna worry about these things, and that's just it. You know, that's how it is, and what's gonna happen. So yeah, you're never gonna change people in that way. I've been perplexed by it for many years, and how like people just really don't seem to get how this stuff works, and that's you just have to be fine with it. There's nothing else you can really do. So hey, here's our herb garden. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? So we can make some medicines now when we can bring them in. That's kind of fun. So yeah, the main thing is don't worry about other people. Just worry about yourself. Gaijin will consistently do what's in their best interest in adding new stuff because people constantly ask for it. The thing you have to be worried about is what happens when they stop. People stop getting stuff. Like, what happens then? And yeah, I don't know how many of you were watching the new update stuff and what ended up happening with the whole let's see what people can get this week. There was a lot of people who were pissed off at Christmas because they didn't get a new jet for America, because they wanted a new jet for America. So yeah, just be very careful on those things, because it can be very annoying dealing with people at that point. Not fun at all, especially when you're the conduit for it. So main thing is not to worry. 3, I'm a little... Oh, the small maps thing, like that's... Yeah, people want quick action. It's just how it is. 3, a little disappointed that long-range AA was not in this update, as Gaijin said it's a priority. Yeah, that's true. I think in terms of like timelines and stuff, it's always going to be tough when it comes to Gaijin, because I kind of... So, I don't know if War Thunder or Gaijin have ever talked about how long it takes to implement a vehicle, but one of the game devs that did talk about it was World of Tanks guys, and they talked about it taking like 6 months to a year to get like vehicles ready and ready to go, and then after that it taking, you know, way more stuff to be able to get things more to a standard in terms of like how it's set up. Like it takes them approximately 6 months to like officially balance a vehicle in their eyes, which is just kind of crazy. So that is like something that I find absolutely nuts. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the trading post again. I know this is like the 3rd time I've done this, but like it's... Yeah, there we go. Let's just move it around, because this one is closer, so we'll get them a bull if we can. Oh no, never mind. I can't do it. I really want to build it closer, but this isn't seen as a trade route. Never mind. Gonna have to destroy that again. Build it over here. God damn it. So annoying. Hey, Canadian Crusher, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Hopefully everything's okay. So yeah, hopefully we see it soon. They also said that they were going to focus on submarines and also like bigger battleships, right? And we've got 2 battleships in this update, which isn't too bad. But yeah, this is the Crushing Foundation. Oh, that sounds fun. Good evening, Jonathan. Hopefully you're doing good. Hopefully you're doing all right. Number 4. I think the Naval Arcade aiming change is a step in the right direction, but realistic needs some changes. I think leading is never a problem in Naval, it's ranging. It should simplify making ranging easier. You just like use the scroll wheel, right? I think. Isn't that right? Is it true you're a Canadian or are you a European? I'm actually a South American. Meat pie, definitely. Sausage roll, come on England, give us a goal. So, when it comes to the naval aiming, I don't like it at all, personally. I do need to actually think about how it's going to work, though. Because I'm a little bit interested to see how it's, like, kind of set up and done. But I think it should be good. Like, I'm not really too worried about it. Let's get more people in the trading house. Mate, what do you mean? The other one was, like, literally built here. Which is the King's Road? Okay, is it fine now? I'm so confused. Very confusing. Hey, Shiny, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Hopefully life's okay. Okay, so no more berries. There we go. But yeah, the ranging is an issue, and I wonder how they're gonna fix it in the future. I don't really know what they're gonna do with it. Like, we'll have to see, right? Like, at the end of the day. Like, it's one of those which I feel like shouldn't be too much of an issue, but you never know. How they're gonna set it all up. I hope that it gets done pretty quickly. I don't want anything silly happening in terms of it. I hope that they do like make it pretty easily, and then yeah. I hope that they've, I mean, I'm sure they have thought about it, but it's something that's been on my mind the whole damn time. Like, in terms of them setting it up. Just demolish this. I don't need it there. The major fields is going to be here, so. Hey, Shiny Grim Reaper, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good today. Hopefully life is okay. More goats. Nice. But yeah, so we'll have to see what they decide to do. Sometimes it's hard to work out what Gaijin is doing, but the last few years they've been talking more about, you know, what's been going on, which is quite nice. Overall, some great steps, but I don't feel drawn to this update as a player who likes to play everything in the game. I mean, so for me, this update has a lot of interesting little vehicles, which at least I'm interested in. I understand it's not going to be to everybody's taste, but for me, I kind of like it, so I'm okay with it. I guess I'm generally fine with it. I don't have too many problems with the whole setup. I think I would have more issues if it was all just kind of top tier stuff, but there's a lot of ground stuff which is a bit lower, which is kind of fun. So I'm definitely happy with all of that. Like, I think it's much better that they've set it up like that. I'm whatever about it. Hype's kind of dead since it's taking forever. That's something we should definitely talk about at some point. The fact that it takes so long to make everything now, it's getting, well, I shouldn't say so long, because it isn't a crazy amount of time. It's just the simple fact that it's more It's more about that it's one of those problems. How do I put this so it makes more sense? The update cycle is increasing in time. And because it's increasing in time, or at least it seems to be increasing in time, it's basically meaning that all of the time when these things are kind of going on, it's creating a bit of a problem. Because it means by the time the update comes out, we already know everything. And also, it's been a month since everything was announced. So it's leading a lot of kind of like burnout, because then when this update comes out, you know, since you have 5 updates a year, if each update cycle is a month long, right, that's 10 months out of 12. So the only really time that you actually get any kind of like free time from update seasons is usually in like July and then January. And now during those you have events and you have everything else. It's just crazy to think about, you know. A very odd predicament. So yeah, that's definitely a problem that I've been thinking of recently. The fact that a lot of this stuff is straight up just intersecting and kind of all over the place. And that is causing a bit of burnout. Is it because of... Why is that not working? So yeah, it's definitely a problem. It must be because of the wood. Right, we'll just leave it for now. So yeah, hopefully they can do something about it. Like, I don't think they need to reduce the amount of updates a year. I think that's fine. They just need to have a think about like all of the different stuff that's been going on all the time. And how to kind of sort it out so it's not constantly just doing the same stuff over and over and over again. I'm sure they will figure it. They're usually pretty good at that stuff. Like, it's not too hard for them to do. They're normally well on top of it, which is nice. So then we have the next one, which is from Jaden Townsend. We need to request the LAV-25. I've seen a lot of people who want the LAV-25. I mean, it's a cool vehicle. It honestly feels like a vehicle where it's like once it's added, people will just completely forget about it existing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, cool, look at that. Do you see that? Nice. And then you just move on with life. It doesn't really seem like a vehicle that many people would actually care about in that way. I might be wrong. Like, I might be completely wrong. Like, maybe it is the vehicle that everyone's like, wow, look at that. Isn't that crazy? But yeah, it's... To me, I just see it as another thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just nuts. No shot they'd put an M1A2 in the battle pass? No, that won't happen. Not for a long time, anyway. So yeah, for me, I don't know what they would do with the LAV, apart from like kind of put it at the mid-tiers, I suppose. But yeah. The one that they used in that kind of trailer was a bought model, and I'm actually gonna... I should have made the video a few weeks ago, but I've been kind of sat not doing it because there's been so much news and stuff, and I wanted to catch up on the past developers because there's some really cool stuff in the past developers. Like, it's actually really awesome, but unfortunately, yeah, time is not always on my side. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that's kind of coming in the pipeline for the past to developers that, you know, they've shown this month, and I want to focus on that before doing all of the other things first. So maybe, who knows? Yeah, the Bushmaster isn't great in War Thunder, that's true. I feel like even the FA18 hype is over before I go into the game. Yeah, it was. It was over last year because everybody kept talking about it. They even started like talking about it. When was it? Like I don't even know when it was, but it was well like June maybe. Hey Clutch Gunner, nice to see you. Because it was obvious that was going to be the next American vehicle. So since it was obvious, it was not going to change. Couldn't but notice you mentioned a jet for every nation except for Britain in your cool air ideas videos. Is this because of the new Harrier for Britain? When was that video from? I've got a feeling that was kind of an old video. Am I right? Like, how old was that video? Usually when I don't mention specific stuff, it's normally because I haven't really thought about it. That's just because, yeah, that's my problem. No, the one from an hour ago. Oh, you mean the pasta developers? No, there just wasn't one from in the pasta developers this time. So yeah, that was it. Yeah, there wasn't one in there, so there wasn't really one to talk about. So it was more about what was available instead of what was about. There are tons of cool British vehicles they can add though, like a metric amount of really interesting ones. So hopefully they can like do them at some point. I think it would be really cool. Like I'm hoping that in the future we can get more of them. So then people can start, having a bit of fun with it. Enjoy Britain. But Britain already has like a ton of really cool stuff, so generally it's not too bad. They've kind of, I feel like unique wise for Britain, they have like a lot of jets compared to other people. Like a lot of other people have like some weird and wonderful ones. Whereas Britain just has a bunch of like interesting, unique mid-tier ones. And then it's just all the other stuff. So then we have Tempest EC2N. For your comments about how everyone plays the same in RRB, there's a different system, go play sim. It's a different dynamic between the larger maps and control scheme requirements. In addition, the decrease in free game mechanics, such as spotting and target lockboxes, makes a small difference between variants much more important, to the point of being different planes. Changes to hood avionics, or even canopy layout changes radically change how the plane feels to fly, even with the same or similar flight model. Like an upgrade from just the base F4 gyro sight to an F4 with a real hood is just massive, but you'll never notice it in RRB. Third person and mouse sim instructor mask so much that sim reveals. The CAD solution is easy, make CAs fly in sim mode. Play ground sim, and you'll notice that there are very few CA planes, because actually flying the plane isn't brain dead, making it have to work for your CA kills. That's not true, actually, about the ground sim stuff, especially not just planes, but also helicopters. There has been many times where helicopters have just absolutely annihilated ground sim, and also planes of the high echelons, because you can still just go into the targeting modes with thermal pods. So that isn't true. The other part of it, yeah, you could go play sim if you wanted that experience. The problem I have with sim is actually more kind of matchmaking wise. I don't really have an issue with how everything feels. I don't really have an issue with how everything is set up. My issue is I join a lobby. I pick the lobby that I choose, and then if I decide like to go into that, then a bunch of other people are also going to go into that, since when I play the game, I stream the game. And that's not going to give me a natural experience. Whereas when it comes to air and ground in arcade and realistic, it gives me a bit more natural experience, because you can't just pick the match that I'm in, right? And that is, a real problem in terms of how it's all set up. So that to me is an issue. It's not one which is like a huge problem, but it's one that definitely kind of sits there. as a thought. And also, I just don't like how people abuse Sim in terms of like the grinding element of the game, because it's basically led to a lot of times in the past where we've just had a lot of problems with, stuff having to be changed in the game because people are abusing mechanics in Sim. And that just makes me sad because it shouldn't be like that, And it isn't Sim's fault. It's just kind of how it goes. And yeah, I wish it was slightly different than it is, but it ain't. So that's kind of how that goes. Very sad. We can get a joiner's workshop here. Helicopter with thermals, cameras, and sim is cancer. Yeah, but also so is like the high echelon planes, right? And most of the people who have issues with sim are talking about like high echelon plane stuff, which is where the problems arise the most. Which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. Right. Goddamn, there's a lot of berries. Did we get this built yet? No, halfway there. I actually want to see what the construction of this looks like when they do it. So yeah, that's kind of an issue. If I was just playing by myself and not on stream, then I would probably play more sim, because I have enjoyed the experience in the past. It has been quite fun. But since I don't, then it would just create awful experiences. And this is just because, I've been doing it a long time and I know what happens. And it's something that has to be taken into account when it comes to me making decisions on how I'm going to play and what I'm going to do stuff. I said I'll show you what tea time is after the tech talk. So then we have Bradley Cavalier. After becoming disheartened with the state of top-tier US ground RB, I started exploring other nations to see if the grass is greener and all that. One of the things I quickly took away from Japan with the Type 90s is how valuable the LWS is in giving you information. Now I know that there is a drone or a K-50 lasering me and I can be defensive, as well as it shows to me the reliance that top tier of people, their laser rangefinder, giving me a 1 second heads up prior to taking fire. Back in October, Spike started performing really well. All of a sudden, my buddy had the APS T80, and I would jump behind him to borrow his APS. I use that as a springboard as going forward. I think a good move in improving the health of top tier is getting all nations an MBT with an APS and LWS. Do an update called Mobile Bulwark. I think it would help tamp down the cast problem, even if they defeat the APS by double firing. That cuts their potential kills in half. I don't know about hammers. Obviously, this would be Snell taking creative liberties. US had trophy for Abrams, Iron Fist for Brads. Germany has a flat panel kit for Rheinmetall, Russia Arena. The question is for the miners to keep it fair and fun all around. Everyone gets a new tank across the board. No one is left out or complains. Your nation has one already. Russia, UK, or Israel. Congrats, you get two. I mean, yeah, that is one of the solutions. More active protection systems. I'd be completely fine with more active protection systems in the game. Yeah, that would be good. I don't see an issue with that. It does mean that the pre-existing stuff is still kind of screwed. So that's kind of an issue. But at the same time, that's going to be the case anyway. There's nothing that's really going to be able to change that too much. So maybe in the future they can think about moving stuff about. But at least for now, that's not going to be the case, right? So yeah, they could do different stuff in terms of that. And maybe it would make life a little bit easier. Maybe it'll make it a little bit harder. Who knows? But the major thing is it would be, at least in general, a bit better. So I would be fine with it. I think it would be a good idea to do. Maybe other people would disagree, but I would doubt it. I think in general it would be seen as a positive thing to do for the game. It's giving more ways of defending yourself is never going to be a negative. It's just once again the issue with more random systems, but I don't mind that. They basically added a bunch of high-tier MBTs, which their only advantage was like slightly additional chemical armor, right? Then they added spore liners and moved stuff around. Added protection is not an issue. I think overall it's fine. Don't really have too many problems with that one. Think it'll be good. So then we have Killian plays War Thunder. Hey, Tekken everyone. Hello. Hey, Black Ivy. Nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Yeah, we're doing the tech talk first, and then we're gonna stream on YouTube's and then everything else. Honestly, I expect the updates come after the Strasbourg event. If it comes before, the aiming change in arcade is going to shake up things quite a bit. What are your opinions on those changes? I think the removal of skill will level the playing field between players, but if the auto calculation sucks, it'll be frustrating. Also, I think it's for sure a big improvement for Coastal. I've had issues with my boat pitching and my 40mm firing all over the place. So generally, with the movement about, I think that overall, I don't have too many issues in terms of how it's all kind of like set up. I think it's fine. The major issue that I have, the major issue I have with the aiming thing is it's just now point and click, and you don't really have to think about anything, and that just sucks. Like that to me is like a big no-no. I would rather have it be a little bit more, at least hands-on, let's say. I don't like it how it's just, yeah, you don't have to think and you just click the button. Like that just doesn't make me feel good, and I don't think it ever will. In terms of in terms of how all this stuff works. I'm hoping that in the future that what it'll do is it'll make it so. What do you mean your disc? Oh, the house is the wrong way around. It shouldn't matter though, right? I built these houses the wrong way around. I've just realized. But yeah, I don't know how quick it's going to accurately follow stuff. I think the big problem with Coastal is the waves are too high. So if you lower the waves, then the game becomes a lot better than it was previously. For Coastal, that means that you don't get those random bumps where like things just kind of disappear. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that in general. I think that's fine. I know that sounds silly, but yeah, it honestly is just that. Which is kind of funny. I would say that in terms of those types of things, I would be fine if they decided to do more in terms of like it quickly moving around. I'm just a bit worried about the aiming system in one way, and that's the vertical aiming. So obviously the change affects the horizontal aiming, which is fine, but it doesn't affect the vertical. And since it doesn't affect the vertical, how is that going to work? Because the vertical aiming is kind of important in terms of like how it all works, because it means that what you end up doing is you end up actually, you know, having what's the word? You end up having like a decent amount of things that if they're coming towards you, you won't be able to actually move stuff about, right? And that worries me. I don't know how they're going to be able to do that. So that is a problem. And maybe there's a solution to that. I don't know. But I haven't seen one, or haven't seen one on the dev server that has kind of, you know, said or shown me that that is a possibility. So I'm hoping that that's the case. I really am. Because if it isn't, then this aiming is going to be crap. But yeah, you can always, I suppose, change the other one if you want to. So at least there's that. I think generally they're probably just waiting. They want the update to come out like as quick as they can, so therefore everything works. because, you know, there's a lot of people who are eagerly waiting the update. I think it's more about the fact that the update itself isn't ready. So they probably just want to make sure that everything's good and then they go. There isn't going to be like a strict... You know how like Gajin talks about how there isn't like a strict time where they're going to... What's the word? There isn't like a strict time where they're going to actually push forward an update, but there is definitely a strict kind of cutoff time. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no way that there isn't like a cutoff time in terms of how they set all these things up. And I think that's the difference, at least that I see. I think there's definitely going to be more of a cutoff in terms of when they want it to come out by, instead of like if it comes out early. Like if everything works well and everything's grand, then yeah, like that to me, I think they would actually just launch it if they could. So that's what I see in the game. I might be wrong. Like, I don't know. I might be just completely off my rocker in terms of that. Who's this guy? He's just walking through the place, having a look. So yeah, maybe that's something that's different, but I don't think it is. I think generally I think everything's just kind of on track to come out. Maybe they wanted to get... When looking at this stuff, I'm guessing they wanted to get it out before the April Fool's stuff starts, because then everything kind of like stays in a rota. But it's hard to tell sometimes when it comes to them. Like, sometimes they just go a bit nuts when it comes to opinions. So, yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, it's hard to tell, basically. I'm hoping that it won't be too rough. And hopefully it comes out next week. Maybe it even comes out on Monday. Because I did see they were dealing with all the bug reports right now, and at least most of the bug reports seem to have been doing well, so maybe that's the idea. Just kind of get her done and push forward with it. Because if they don't, then, you know, that causes some more issues. It's hard to tell. I hope they get it done shortly. So then we have Jake the Tank Master. Howdy, Texter. Hello. How are you? First of all, no idea how you do it. I envy your time management skills. Anyway, silly question, but would you rather chip butty or crisp sandwich? I have never been a crisp sandwich individual. I find crisp sandwiches super weird. I don't get the texture stuff. I don't get the crunch and the white bread kind of deal. But a chip butty, I do really like. I miss having chip butties, because over here, if you go, first of all, there aren't that many fish and chip shops. There's like one that I know about, which you can order a bun by itself, and then you order the fries on the side, and they do them like a standard like fish and chip shop. But yeah, you can't actually order a chip butty, which is just stupid, because you can order all the components of a chip butty, but you can't order a chip butty. So work that one out. But yeah, the crisp sandwich, never been a fan at all. Time management is, yeah, it's time management is one of those things which is very interesting. I think is probably the way to put it. Like it's one of those which over the years I've got better and better at. What's been really interesting this year so far is I upgraded. So last year I upgraded the gaming PC. Then this year I actually upgraded the different the editing PC. So now everything has actually got way more efficient in terms of how it's set up, which is just wild, because I didn't think I could get more efficient. But here we are. We are now just going kind of bongo, which is pretty fun. So yeah, for me, I actually really have been really enjoying doing all of the kind of like stuff that we've had to do to get it all done. Thank you for the subscription, Parker. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much, man. Merci beaucoup. So yeah, I think overall, the time management stuff is probably the bit that's the most misunderstood in terms of like how I do everything. But I'm okay with that. I don't mind. Like, it's one of those things which I feel is kind of fun to do and kind of confuse people with. There's never going to be a time where I think people are going to understand how I do everything that I do. Maybe one day what I'll do is I'll do one of those kind of here's my day things. That's going to be a long time away. Could be fun though. Could be enjoyable. One day. Yeah, definitely a chip butty. Chip butty with some butter and then just some like sauce on it. Don't have to be anything crazy, but just a little bit. Then we have Kurtler. Have you played Tawano release of Foundation? Have I played the Wano release of Foundation? I don't know what Foundation is. So I'm going for no. Oh, this looks like Foundation is a gridless, laid-back medieval city building game with a focus on organic development, monument construction, and resource management. Oh, this looks fun. It looks the art style is like super arcadey, but I kind of like that. Yeah, this looks fun. No, I haven't. I might check this out though. It's $30 right now, so it's a bit pricey. I just picked up Sniper Elite 5 on the sales because I said since we played the more recent Sniper Elite, I did say that I would buy the other one when it came out. So yeah, we are once again Sniper Eliting, so should be pretty good. Ooh. Oh, did we finally harvest the veg? Wow, we got 4 vegetables. Wow. Goddamn. We eating good tonight. Oh no, we're transporting vegetables. How many veg do we have? Oh, these guys are transporting wooden parts. Nice. The economy has started to go. But yeah, the games like that, I don't know. I find really interesting, just like I find it interesting these games. I have definitely, when it comes to like Manor Lords and stuff, been a lot more kind of on top of Manor Lords just because of like the whole realistic thing that's going on with it. I think the actual kind of aesthetic of it is really cool. But yeah, it's one of those which has been really awesome to enjoy. I'm hoping in the future we get more kind of games like this, and there is also a bunch of them about which are quite fun. The one I do need to sink teeth into though is Frostpunk. Frostpunk 2. I did like the first mission in Frostpunk 2, and then I tried the second and kind of gave it up for a little bit. I just wasn't really hugely feeling it at the time. But that's one of those which in the future will be very good. So should definitely focus on doing that. So we have Charlie Harris. Hey Tech, hope you're doing well. Yep, life is good, feeling good. Back to the previous kind of diet. So I'm happy with the amount of muscle that I put on now, and it's meant that I've had to eat way more than I'm kind of comfortable eating. I had to really push myself a lot of the time to like eat a shit ton of stuff, but the muscle's good now, so now we're trimming again, which means I want to get under 200, but I really don't think I'm going to be able to. Like, I was sat at 220 for the longest time. The lowest I got was 208, which was pretty down there, like in terms of everything. And then I'm now at 230. So now I'm gonna try and drop again, like a decent amount. But I don't know. Like I feel like all the time I'm like fighting a losing battle with it. especially since I haven't got like any of the extra like skin or anything cut off, so that's always going to be a bit of a problem. But who knows? Anything's possible. We shall have to see what goes on. Actually, you know what I'll do? Let's just no trade this. No trade this for now. Just so we can get some coinage, so we can get some sheep going. Obviously, sheep is pretty fun. The veg is coming in, and it's just disappearing like straight away, by the way. Tried to carve him a nipple. Ridiculous. But yeah, I am feeling pretty good. With all this talk about a strategic bomber game mode, I must admit I'm pretty excited to see how it would all go. But it also got me thinking, does this open up the door for unique types of bombers? Bombers like the YB-35 and the 49, which would be the first all-wing bombers in the game. Since we already had the all-wing jet fighter, the Horton 229, kind of makes sense to me to add the first all-wing bomber in the game. But either way, I'm looking forward to this strategic bomber game mode. Oh, maybe the HO-18 America bomber. Wink, wink. Yeah, there is some really funny America bomber designs that they could add in. That that's very true. There's a lot of hope around these things, and there's a lot of people like hoping to see some really cool stuff, and I really hope there is. You know, I do hope that they do go a bit crazy with it, and they do end up with like a really cool game mode where like it's more PV focused, and then you have like the bomber formations, you have to survive like going around. That would be really cool. I just don't know how much of a large appeal it's gonna have. I wish if they come, but how many nations can have them? 4 or 5? If you add in World War II and you add in like the weird projects that Germany did, there's like 4, right? There's America, Germany, Russia, and Britain. France, I suppose, but not really. Like they had some projects, and then technically they have a few more, but yeah, it's not really that high, right? Like in terms of what can happen. So there is a few that can go. I personally think that that they could do some pretty cool stuff with it if they wanted to. But yeah, it's nothing that. Let's stop cutting firewood. How about that? There's nothing. There's not a ton of nations that can benefit from it, which is why they would have to limit it to like a specific game mode, which would be fine. Like they could do that. China has some technically. Like they technically do. So yeah, you could add China as well. But there was a game back in the day which I want to sit down one day and play at least a little bit of with Rocker, and it's called B-17, the Flying Fortress, the Mighty Eighth, right? There's also B-17, Flying Fortress, World War II bombers in action. The Mighty Eighth, they updated. They updated the game so it actually works with modern systems, and it means that you can basically fly like proper B-17 missions and then try and like kind of, you know, do the target and then get home and do that. And I want to do some with Rocket because I think it would be super fun. Like even, I mean, technically we could actually maybe do some of those while like, you know, doing podcasts or something. I think it'd be kind of nice. But yeah, there's plenty of vehicles they can add. I'm not really too interested in what vehicles they could go in. I'm actually, weirdly enough, more interested to see how they're gonna add them. So like how are they going to turn it up in terms of the setup for it? I think that actually is more interesting to me. Because there's so many different kind of vehicles that can be added, but they all will play basically the same way, at least from like the start. So I want to know how Gaijin is going to add them in, so they are actually more, interesting in terms of the game. Like, how are they gonna make the game mode fun for people who aren't that interested in playing just bombers? Because I know we talk about bombers a lot, because they're usually the area which is kind of which is not really talked about too much. But if we're honest, like it's also one of the places or one of the areas which is even though it's not talked about too much, it is one of the places which also at the same time is one which, how do I put this? I'm trying to think of the words. There's a lot of topics that get talked about a lot because they're not present in the game. But once they get added to the game, you realize that it is a small amount of people who are asking for these things. Right? And that is a problem that I'm worried about in terms of this, right? I'm worried about the fact that when they add this stuff and then it turns out that, you know, there's not a ton of people who actually enjoy it and don't really care for it, then that's going to be a bit worrying, right? But I'm hoping I'm wrong. I really am, because obviously I want things to prosper. I want things to work well. But at the same time, you never know. Like maybe people have like a weird way of looking at it. Maybe they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, we actually don't want to do that. We actually want to do something else." Like maybe that's the case. But who knows? It's very hard to tell sometimes what people are actually interested in and what they just say they're interested in. You know what I mean? Because those two things can be incredibly different. And that can be a problem. I'm making my little manor here. So we are becoming a Manor Lord. Actually. Would it be better to put the tax office right next to the door? Tax collector. There we go. Nice. So we now have our little manor. By the way, in the next update of this, they're going to add in stone castles, which is really cool. So you can upgrade your manor to be a castle. The reason I built this here is because it's not as fertile as like this other area. So make it a little bit easier. I'm going to make this all into farmland, and then this area is going to be the manor. It's cool. So yeah, that's one thing I'm a bit worried about. If it is more of a problem where people are saying that they're interested in it and then it actually turns up and then it doesn't happen, that's gonna make me really sad. Like I'm not gonna lie. I really hope that doesn't happen. Because that's no fun at all. That's no fun for anybody. Alright, we're gonna build our manor now. It's gonna be good. So we have Organic Chemistry Junkie. Thank you for the in-depth analysis and my too lengthy comment last time. Oh, it's okay. Since you said that you once thought in a similar manner regarding the game, how did you go about changing your mindset, stop caring what other people think? Was it just a sudden realization or a gradual shift? Did any specific situation in War Thunder / with its player base help with that said realization? So I think with my stuff, it's probably a bit different than most. Because I make content, basically, I put my opinions more out into the public domain. Nice to see you, Otto. Happy Saturday. Hopefully you're doing good.
And because of that, there's been many experiences that I've had which have been interesting. I think is probably the word I would use in terms of like how it's all been set up. So, for example, back in the day, and even today, you know, there I obviously put out my opinion. I talk about what I think is correct, what I think is not correct, and all this. And this leads to, of course, some people getting annoyed. You know, even recently with the if you have a look at like the Abrams and the Leopard stuff, where they're adding the turret baskets to the vehicles, the thing for me when it came to that, which I found interesting, was that people got annoyed because it was the Abrams and the Leopard, not because it was a nerf, not because of the change itself. Because that type of thing, the updated models has been happening since, well, they talked about it happening over a year ago, and they've been gradually adding it to these things. But because it happened to the Leopard and because it happened to the Abrams, and people don't want it to happen to those vehicles because they don't want their vehicles nerfed, then it became a problem. And since I talked about that, I mean, you can read like the comment sections on those videos. You got the shill thing going on. You've got the I hate America thing going on. You've got the whenever it's a NATO vehicle, I think, you know, it's shit going on for some reason. Like that's also something that happens a lot. And yeah, you get all of these wild opinions going around because I basically turned around and said, "No, I disagree with you." And if you say that, obviously people get a bit pissy. But for me, I think it's important for people to give out their opinions no matter, you know, where they sit on it. Whether I agree or don't agree with it. I think it's important for people to say what they believe, because then we can actually have honest conversations about these things, and then from there we can kind of work out what needs to be done, right? Or what how people see what. And that is the most important part of communication, not just what is positive from my point of view, but what is positive from other people's points of view. And so for me, when I see stuff, actually no, let's hold off on the trade, right? um there we go. When I see stuff like that for War Thunder, usually it brings out a lot of people's biases, and then you get the classic thing, which is, well, you also have biases, and it's like, yeah, probably. I don't know what they are. I'd like to learn what they are, but I don't think I do in terms of the video game. Um, but it's just one of those things that kind of moves you about. So back in the day, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, there was a bunch of changes that Gaijin were making with the economy and also matchmaking, and also generally how like the game felt in terms of the gameplay of it. And a lot of this stuff I was super supportive of. You know, when it came to the missile stuff, when it came to the supersonic stuff, when it came to their focus, not just on like the World War II area, but the focus on all of the things. Even though I really enjoy the World War II stuff, I also understand that there is a big kind of deluge in terms of War Thunder and in terms of trying to appeal to everybody, kind of like with the whole strategic bomber thing. And one of the big things that I sit at odds with a lot of people with is the fundamental human psychology of the grind, right? So the grind in War Thunder is something which is important because you need people, right? You need people to turn up and want to play the game. And you need the grind to be long enough so they feel like it was worth their time, like it was valued. But also at the same time, you need it so it isn't too overbearing, so they don't get it. So therefore they leave before it's finished, or they don't even want to start it. Now, in terms of War Thunder, I think the balance right now with how it works is a bit off. I don't think it's correct. I think it's a bit skew with in terms of how it's all done. And they need to readdress this balance, and they need to make it a little bit better, right? But in the past, when it really wasn't that bad compared to now, like I talked about and still believe that it generally wasn't too bad. There are times in the past where you could straight up grind through a whole aviation tech tree in a day. I know people, when the Italian tree came out, they just bought the G55S and they ground out the whole tech tree in about 6 hours. Right? Now, I think nowadays with War Thunder, there is a lot of issues in terms of whether, people moving around different tech trees or playing different stuff and the time involved in it. But back in the day, it definitely wasn't the case because there was tons of people who had pretty much everything kind of ground out, and that's how it was. And this put me at odds with a lot of people because obviously trying to explain to people that a grind in something is good because of the rewards is never going to work when it comes to a video game. And also trying to explain to people how free-to-play game mechanics work and how War Thunder wouldn't exist without those free-to-play mechanics, I found impossible to do. I couldn't get through to a percentage of the population of like the War Thunder player base. So this meant there was many times where I was called all the names under the sun, mainly coming back to the fact that I didn't think the system was that bad because it supports what the game is. And now when we look back at it today, it's generally not too bad, right? And I made a bunch of videos asking for people's opinions, going through their opinions and their thoughts on it. And then what I did is I sat down, kind of like what we're doing right now, and I went through every single comment, every single thought, and I explained how I saw this, and I explained how I think it is correct in my way of thinking, right? And after even like talking to a bunch of them, getting them to like accept at least what I was saying, and then also like understanding where I was coming from and agreeing with a bunch of the points of it, I just left it alone. And then a week later, a lot of them were just still saying the same stuff again, even some of it just straight up lying about what my opinions were from those videos themselves. So at that point, I had a fundamental moment where I realized there is absolutely no point in trying to deal with this set of people because they are never, ever going to even understand what you're saying. They'll nod their heads, they're looking for reactions, and then when you give them the reactions, it doesn't matter because they just forget about them the next day and then continue the same way, which is why you have some people in the War Thunder community who for a decade now have been saying the same stuff every day. A decade. It's nuts. So that was the moment where I was like, you know what? This is pointless. No need to placate. I'll just talk about what I think is correct. And then if people want to discuss it, or if people want to basically just completely make up what I think when it comes to it, okay then. It is what it is. I can't change that. I can't move it around. I can't make it so it's more positive or anything like that. All I can do is basically just, stick to what I think is correct. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and that's it. And if I'm right, I'm right, and that's it. Because at the end of the day, after all is said and done, the only person that matters in your own head is you when it comes to your opinions, or maybe some of your loved ones, not random people that you will never probably meet or even hear again in the future. Like if I just tomorrow, if I decided to not do any of this stuff and just walked away and just did like my standard work stuff, and then also at the same time just had everybody around me that I have, like friends, family, and stuff like that, I'm incredibly content with that, right? So for me, seeing it as an extra thing and seeing it as an addition works very well. I don't want to do that because there's a lot of people now in the online space that I actually do appreciate and care about. But at the same time, I know that I will keep up with those people, just like I have been doing with the streams and just like I have been doing on Discord and stuff like that, because they are now morphing into the kind of friends group stuff. As I'm working towards an organic chemistry PhD in real life, it's kind of hard not to look at any long-running issue holistically, as that is the exact kind of mindset Doctor of Philosophy instills in a person. I also get overly frustrated in a similar manner with American politics. If you can't change something, don't worry about it. Learn to modify and morph. And then get into a position to be able to change it. And if you can't get into that position, don't worry about it. It's very easy, especially younger on, to try and care about all these fucking societal issues, caring about, you know, all the shit that's going on in the world. Your brain ain't big enough. Sorry, it's just there's too much stuff running around. There's the ladder analogy. It's the one that I live by. Everybody's in their hole. Everybody starts in a bloody hole, right? And in order to be able to help others, or in order to be able to worry about these societal things or to affect change in these societal things, you need to get out of your hole. So you need to win your personal battles first, whether it's education, whether it's work, whether it's living situation, whether it's friends, whether it's family. And then once all that stuff is sorted out, then you can walk over to somebody else's hole and you can give them a reaching hand. And then they can go on, and then they can help somebody, and then so on and so forth. So therefore, the community around you is solid and stable, right? That to me is the way you do these things. If you worry about grandiose things, like, you know, even just the future of a video game or American politics, which is just like, I mean, if you end up starting to worry about all of that stuff, then my God, like it's going to be impossible to do anything. Your brain's always going to be foggy and you can just struggle all the time, right? Like it's just going to be a mess. It's never going to be enjoyable to do. It's much better, as I said, just to focus on yourself. Then later on you can do that stuff. You can get annoyed at the TV. You can watch sports and get annoyed at your favorite team, or you can pick up a hobby and you don't understand why people don't understand it. But until you're out of that hole, it don't matter. Because at the end of the day, you need other people to also take you seriously if you worry about these things. And the way that you do that is to get out the fucking hole. Right? So focus on the hole. So we have Manuel Guedes. Hi, Tech. Hello. I have a suggestion for a War Thunder hangar. The background would be the White House lawn. The vehicle displayed would be showcased by Donald Trump, while he would mispronounce every single vehicle name. He does have an interesting way of saying things. I will give him that. One of the... You know what was funny? So... back in the day when I posted on War Thunder Live, there was a video thumbnail which was like, it was an Abrams gameplay, and I think it had the drum decal on it. So then I put like the American flag and then I think a picture of like Donald Trump in like the background of it. And then what ended up happening was it got taken down for political reasons, which I always thought was kind of funny. But yeah. Yeah, I should try and experiment with the custom hanger stuff though. Give it a bit of a go and see what's going on. Like with the whole thing. Should be kind of fun. So we have Bradley Cavalier again. Preface this with, I know the Italian Arietes are the worst tank in NATO, but they are so pretty looking. I agree, they do look nice. The premium coming out is caused a stir with the Ariete guys, that the war kit isn't modeled correctly. And with the bug report correction they're reporting, would bring the Arietes to a more workable condition. I know miners don't get much love, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, sure. Top tier armor is fiction. It's always been fiction. It always will be fiction. Because you have a fundamental problem with it. And that fundamental problem is a simple one. It is impossible. It is impossible to know what the actual armor values are. So because it's impossible to know what the actual armor values are, you are not able at all to actually affect change in terms of it. So sources wise, a lot of sources basically say what it can withstand in terms of weaponry. It doesn't tell you ammunition, it doesn't tell you penetration, it doesn't tell you anything like that. So a lot of this stuff is kind of guesstimation. And that, is a bit of a problem. It's one of those which means that it's a little bit harder for Gaijin to be able to model correctly, and they've decided what it's supposed to be. It's the same issue that we've always talked about when it comes to War Thunder, though, where you have a set of people who are very much into talking about specific vehicles and talking about specific things within those vehicles, and the fact that they think about stuff like that in that way, you know for a fact that you're going to have a pretty tough time to convince them otherwise. Every main of every nation thinks their armor should be better. That's how this works. So yeah, it's basically an issue with that. I haven't found a main of a nation who doesn't think their top tier armor should be better. I actually want them across the board just to make all of the top tier armor exactly the same. I think that would actually be really good. Mainly because of the fact, therefore I wouldn't have to hear about it. And I think that would be really, really good. We got our first sheep. Where is it? I don't know where our first sheep is. He's in here somewhere. No idea where he is. Turns out our pasture's pretty big, so I'm sure it'll turn up at some point. Yeah, we have our first sheep. So the wool production is beginning, which is really fun. This guy's herding the sheep. Heinz. So yeah, gonna be fun. But yeah, so for me, that's kind of how I see it, right? If the information is there, can be corroborated, all that wonderful stuff, then yep, do it tomorrow. If it can't, well, we're in a pickle, aren't we? Again. Which we seem to always be with these conversations. But yeah, find me a main and find me how they think their armor's correct, and I will sell you a bridge, as usual. Hey Bilbo, nice to see you. How have you been, man? How's life? I see you too, SK. Hopefully life's alright. My guy's been found out the actual arm values and look what happened to him. I don't think we'll ever find out what happened to him, man. Don't know if it's in the cards. Hey, there we go. Barbara. There's our first sheep, Barbara. Lovely stuff. So yeah, it's more about the fact that it's just always the case with any mainer that you kind of hear. It's just kind of how it goes. Where's Barbara going? Good bit of a stalemate, but I just got into War Thunder 2 weeks ago. Saw furry body pillows, so it reminded me to play again. Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, you can get yourself some fun stuff. It's going well, Jeff. Life is alright. Like, this week we changed a few things, and it's all gone pretty positively. We're just doing the tech talk, and then we'll get back in some War Thunder again. Then we have Insane Robert. Yeah, Hans is, we've been chatting with Hans. He's been about. He took a bit of time off too, in terms of like just doing stuff, but he's back and roaring to go. It's been nice to see him about. But yeah, we're gonna more recently go into some Pretty fun times. And we have Insane Robert. Hello, Tech. Regarding ships, there was a navy that loved the Bismarck more than the Kriegsmarine, the British Royal Navy. They even put the effort to dispatch all available ships. Thank you for the gifted sub, Teddy. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much. And also, once again, it's very kind of you. Thank you. Welcome to Club Bilbo and also Otto. Enjoy the emotes. But yeah, let's see. They even put the effort to dispatch all available ships and aircraft around it to find the Bismarck after its encounter with the Hood. Jokes aside, what's your opinion on the need of rejuvenating the RRB mode? Its current design feels a bit stale since they streamlined the map's layout. I even bet they have some kind of automated tool to plant the bombing bases and ground troops around the middle of the map. It feels like Gaijin is only focusing on the dogfight and PvP aspect, more or less, than on the PvE, ground attack, air interception, and other gameplay modes and activities. So Gaijin has a problem when it comes to air, but also the other game modes, right? How do I put this? They've tried to facilitate creating game modes that people will enjoy. Which I know sounds really odd, because of course they're going to do that, right? Like, that makes the most sense, yeah? The problem with this is it's meant that everything is becoming the same. So because of the map rotation filter and the additional information that they have in terms of, you know, how everybody kind of does everything, because of other areas, such as the whole idea of, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like, you know, streamlining everything based on that. And then also through like opinions and what people want to see, and the fact that they had a lot of problems in terms of trying to create like unique stuff in the past. Like, people just didn't like it. So now you have what you have. You have a basic bog standard system where everything is unfortunately the same, but now people are okay with it. The problem with doing something like that is it has created a bit of a problem. And that is that since everything else is the same, people are now getting bored with it. So now they have to facilitate different events which create unique experiences, and therefore that is where people get interesting and unique ideas from. But that's not always something that people like, right? Because they want their standard gameplay to be pretty good too. Why'd you increase the slap myself to 5 mil? Didn't think that'd be too much of a problem at 1 mil. We had like 5 in a row. So yeah, it got a bit tiresome to hit myself. So that's, at least for me, the way that I see it, right? I think it's got to a point now where they've tried to placate people so much that they've made everything super dull and boring because of the fact that they're placating. So I think now they need a bit of rejuvenation. They need somebody to turn around and go, no, 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 we're going to actually do this differently now, and that's how it's going to be. And at least try some different stuff. That was the whole point of like the EC stuff, which, you know, obviously had a little bit of difference with it. And that was the point of like other things as well that they tried. And, you know, it worked okay, but still kind of has the different issues that we've talked about before. Where there are still a lot of people who are not really that happy with how it's all set up. So, yeah. I thought I was hot shit with my 700k channel points. Guess not. It's pretty crazy, man. Like, they made it easier to get them, so it's pretty nuts. So yeah, that's the major issue with that. It's always going to be that as a problem, where there's going to be a ton of people who want to get access to like a bunch of cool stuff, and then when they get it, and then they change like how all the system works, then gonna get bored, and then they're gonna move on to the next thing. So what they gotta continuously do all the time is make things just a little bit better for people to have a bit more fun with. So hopefully in the next year they can do that, because it's been a bit stagnated because of that, right? So we have Jeff Thunderman. Good old Jeff. I'm trying to grind the battleship, but I'm having trouble getting into one because I usually get sniped across the map. Any tips? I'm grinding the US tree. By sniped across the map, you mean you just keep getting like hit by things? You can spawn a little bit later in the game. By spawning a little bit later in the game, it'll actually mean that it'll be easier for you to survive, because not as many people will actually target you, which is pretty fun. Usually what ends up happening is, you know, once people stop targeting, then you can survive and you can have a bit of fun with things. So that's what I would say. Like, you need to just focus on setting that up. Just spawn like maybe, yeah, just 10 seconds after everybody else. And that means that you won't get targeted and everybody else will. So that would work fantastically. Go to the Northampton and the Atlanta. Northampton's pretty rough. Atlanta's good. They did up its BR though, right? So maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll be a bit rough. Not getting enough meat in for these guys, by the way. Kind of sucks. Once we get the fields going, we'll be grand. We can get this going and we'll be good too. And we have Zip, 6 seconds is crazy. Yeah. Hey Radis, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good today. So then we have Clover Dover. Tech, what do you think about the US annexing Canada? We can liberate you from your single-payer healthcare system and give you our glorious privatized health insurance. You know what's funny about Canada? We have private health insurance up here. Weird, right? I have private health insurance through my work. So you get both. Which I always found weird that America doesn't have both in the same way. Like, I know everybody talks about like public healthcare and stuff when it comes to Canada, but you still have to pay through the nose for a lot of stuff. Because it always depends on, you know, the people's opinions on what is worth it and what isn't. But yeah, I was chatting to my father about about like the Trump stuff, because, you know, we've been watching it and seeing everything that's been going on in America. And at least for me, the way that I see it, he just seems to be a deals man, like all the time. He just always wants to just get people around the table. And the way that he does that is basically by we have Barbara and what the hell is your name? Beatrix? Okay, we have Beatrix. But basically, he tries to get people around the table by, you know, just saying random stuff and trying to get them to react, and then they can actually make a deal on things. And it works like half the time. But at the moment, at least with the Canadian stuff, it just seems like it's more of an aggressive one. Hey, Abby, nice to see you. True, Abby, yeah. Yeah, but the more interesting thing is, yeah, it's obviously Canada is not going to join the US because sovereign countries don't usually give up their sovereignty. I know that sounds weird, but it is kind of how it is. I can't remember the last time a country gave up its sovereignty when it wasn't forced to give up its sovereignty. The big issue with Canada that I find is it's huge and it must be really hard to govern. Like, all of the news about like the Canada and the America stuff is just literally just been around like Ontario and like the Eastern Canada. Western Canada, like, I don't know, you just never hear anything about it. So it's just kind of sad. Like, to me, it doesn't really matter either way what happens. I'm just kind of sat here watching sports. Like we said before, like I have my own issues to think about. I don't need to think about all of these international things that are going on. There are people who are much more qualified and also at the same time are generally better in terms of like dealing with these things than me. So like I just don't even think about it like in terms of my brain. They're just not part of my like thought process. So yeah. I know a lot of people who do worry a lot about this stuff and good for them, Godspeed and everything like that, but I just find it impossible to do. Like my brain just like breaks if I do that. Because then I stop thinking about like all the other stuff that's going on. Good evening, Penguin Red. Nice to see you. Munich Conference 1938. What's this about countries surrendering their sovereignty? Yeah, well, it was just more saying that countries nowadays don't really do that much. I remember Austria did it just before the Second World War, but like, yeah, usually things are forced or like economically things fall apart, right? Like that's kind of how it goes. But yeah, it's at least for me, I don't really think about it too much. I much prefer to think about other stuff because it's more in my remit. I just don't get how people have so much free time to think about like international politics or like geopolitics. Like whenever I like sit down and think about this stuff or start reading articles on it, I just think about other stuff I can do that's just more useful or just also just more interesting. I'd rather learn some different stuff. Like yesterday, I learned how to take off the back of a power wheelchair and how to basically take off the cap, get to the batteries, get to like the power button at the back, and then how to like fit the shell to the back of it. That was really cool. And like in the future, if I ever need to use it, like if somebody needs help or something like broke, then yeah, I don't know. Seems like seems like a much better idea instead of like worrying about what X country is doing to Y country. When it comes to like pricing or when it comes to stuff like that, yeah, I'll probably modify what I buy just because what's cheaper and then also at the same time what's in like a better situation. But yeah, it's at the end of the day I keep quite a decent track of stuff like that, but it's not anything that's gonna change how I do stuff in the immediate future. What the heck is a power wheelchair? Well, it's just a wheelchair which has a little electrical engine attached to it. There's like they build these like big decently heavy wheelchairs which they have like two wheels, a little electric motor in the middle, and then massive batteries for power. Then obviously a bunch of it like in the base of it, and then you have like the wheelchair on top which moves it around, right? The coolest thing that I've actually seen and found. So on a push wheelchair, right? There's a company that's created this device, which is straight up like an extra arm with a wheel on the end that you attach to the back of a push wheelchair, and it straight up has an electrical motor in it and pushes the wheel. So if you want to like fly about the place, like you can just stick one of those on, and that thing can get up to like 30 kilometers an hour. Like if you let it. And I've also seen ones that people use where you basically make it into a tricycle. So you have like a connection just near the wheels, and then you put it and then it puts a wheel in the front, attaches a little electric engine to it, or a little electric power to it, and then you literally just like drive it in the front. So you make your wheelchair into like basically a tri like a tri bike or whatever you want to call it. So you use it on a normal wheelchair? Yeah, on a normal one. It's like a push wheelchair. Like yeah, you literally get like an arm and so imagine you're sat down, right? So it goes, you hook it behind you, like where your ass is to like a bar, and then it goes down and onto the ground, and there is a wheel attached to it, right? So then the engine part or the power is in the arm, and you control it basically with a switch, which you can either put on your wheelchair or you can like literally put on like a glove or something. So then you can turn it on and off, and they can fly. Like, it's fantastic to watch. Like, I don't know how it works with like safety regulations. because like there's been a huge thing recently around here about like the whole the whole fact that, you know, with the kind of the scooters that have been turning up and the powered electric bikes, there have been some people who have been flying about the place at like ridiculous levels, and it's been pretty dangerous like at the end of the day. So yeah, I don't know whether the wheelchairs like there's that issue, but obviously they have limiters on them, so you can't like overload them with like more power. But guess what? You can turn it off. So it's pretty fun. Hey, Lucky Strike, nice to see you. I'm doing well, thank you. Hopefully you're doing good too. Hopefully life is all right, man. Hopefully you're doing good. So we have D's Doz. I think it's a very simple issue of expectation. Grand RB players complaining about cast don't realize what it is. It's a kill streak reward. It's meant to encourage snowballing kills with a little bit of pity towards people up-tiered. Without planes, it just becomes a camp fest. What's crazier is I've seen people complain about both and can't imagine how those two are related. They're the kind of people that can't imagine there are unintended consequences to getting what they think they want because they're just arguing for some vague idea of the game being easier for just themselves. I mean, that's most people. Most people vote for what is better for them. That's a standard. So yeah, I don't know what we're going on here. Like people arguing for historical MM, that would see Tigers versus T26s because you'd immediately have 99 Tigers queued to have an easy time killing the one Soviet player to the point you'd be waiting an hour to get a match for the last couple of minutes. Well, yeah, that's true about the last bit, but the issue, right? The issue with CAS is it's not a kill streak reward at the moment, right? The issue with it is pretty simple. It's very easy to get into, maybe too easy to get into. So they need to have a rethink on how it's all set up. That's it. Endline, Beatrix, and Barbara. Like, we showcased the game last year, and the spawn point system hasn't changed at all from that time. We showcased the game last year, where, in order to get access to the CAS element, a person had to get a scouting assist and a cap. And that gave them a fully laden helicopter with all of its ATGMs or all of its IR missiles. And you needed a 1 kill and 1 cap to get in a fully laden SU-34 / SU-25 or whatever you want. There's video evidence of this happening. So the idea of it being a kill streak reward, it really isn't. Because it's not like ground where you need like 3 kills to get into a bomber, right? On top of like doing the cap stuff or on top of doing other stuff. It's literally just cap a point and get a scout and you're in one of the most powerful vehicles in the game, right? So yeah, it's just people understand like where like what's happening with it. The issue is the imbalance between them. Like that's it. It isn't the fact that people aren't like understanding like what it is. It is obviously a kill streak kind of reward thing. But it's just the simple fact that it doesn't actually do what it's being said to do. That's it. If they made it so it wasn't that, if they made it so it was different, then fair, but it ain't, so that's the problem. Let's rebuild this stuff. So then we have Ephialtis, another excellent gospel reading, Your Grace. Looking forward to your post-update gospel reading. Good old Gospels. I enjoy them. I think they're pretty fun. I like it when people go ham on it. You know, when you get those people who are like super into it, like some of the crazy churches in the US. It's like, I'm a healing. I'm a getting there. I'm a having a wonderful time. You should too, FJ. Love shit like that. Big fan. Oh god. Top tier ground unstable right now. I haven't touched it yet. It's very unstable yet. Way more unstable than you may remember. Yeah, I love those big old gospel readers. They're very fun. And we have MT. Love how people still talk about CAS as if it's just spawn it. You have to earn the RP. The RP. You have to earn the RP. You can just buy one. Like, you... A vehicle that costs 70 SP can't be as effective as a 900 SP one. Come on. I'm not gonna dignify it, man. Like, it's not about what is more effective or less effective. It's just about we've already been through it many times. There's no need to just sit here and explain the same stuff over and over again. Of course, a vehicle that is more expensive should be more effective. The issue is it's way too easy to get into that thing that is more effective. That's it. Like, I don't know how else to put it. It's simple and effective, you know. And we have Jay Hunts. I really want them to add the M174 missile to the F-18. Yeah, sure. Why not? They probably will in the future, and it won't be able to be countered. So then we have the Everlasting Rose. What cast problem? I see people always whining, but I don't see it. Open your eyes! When you get a team kill, or when you kill somebody in War Thunder, and I think it's mainly just for America, but it might be for other nations too. The pilot goes, "Open your eyes!" So yeah, that's the response to that. Hey Bryce, nice to see you. You watched Uncut Gems? I don't know what that is. Then we have K the V. I don't understand CAS haters. Play as a squad, dedicate a guy to play early SBAA, and practice that SBA in test drive. I practiced only a couple of hours, admittedly a low tier with my Crusader AA, and can now confidently hit most targets at most ranges and angles with its slow-firing 40. The only problem at my BR, 70 UK, 4 and less with others, is high-altitude bombers stay super high. But I watch my replays, practice against them in test drive, and by the time they have bombers, we really should have our own CAS or semi-CAS be able to climb to them and kill them fairly quickly. Ideally, they won't get a single bombing run in, but sometimes they do get one away while our dummy planes stay low and ignore it. Really just needs a bomber's high radio callout instead of just air to wake up our planes to those threats. I feel bad that you played that vehicle for that long to test fly it, because that one is really not very good. So I'm sorry that that happened to you. At the same time, there are other problems, obviously, in terms of it. Let's go production limit 100 or maybe 50 actually. Yeah, I honestly feel like when it comes to it, there are obviously more problems in terms of it. I can guarantee if I am in a CAS vehicle, you will not shoot me down. Oh my god, look at that. How weird of a thing is that? I can guarantee that you won't be able to shoot me down if you're in a Crusader AA, and I want you dead. But the major things that people are talking about are more like higher BR stuff. But there are still quite a lot of issues in the low BRs, which also have the similar problems to everything else. So, yeah. The other thing is the idea of just playing in a squad and having a dude in a dedicated AA. That's fair. Like that can happen. That's That's not a bad option. But at the same time, there are matches where, you know, nobody actually spawns in nobody actually spawns in the good old plains. So you'll just be sat there not doing anything for the longest time, which isn't very fun. So can be a bit of an issue, kind of putting somebody up to that and not really, you know, them just kind of like sat there and you can't really do anything with it. It's kind of not very fun, right? So yeah, you're kind of relegating somebody to maybe not do anything for a whole game. And if you do that, I mean, it can work, it can be fine, but you know, you're still going to have people who are annoyed at that. Like, because, you know, you're kind of forcing them to do something they might not want to do and not have any fun with. But also just, you know, the vast majority of people don't play in squads. Whether they should or not, you know, that's a different story, but they don't. So you have to focus stuff more around what people do instead of what they don't do. And we can argue till the cows come home that people should change how they play or modify how they play. And yeah, I would probably agree in some of the areas that they should. But once again, at this moment in time, that is not what's happening. So tough, isn't it? Unfortunately. Maybe in the future, things could change. But at this moment in time, it is not a reality. It is unfortunately not true. We'll see. Maybe in the future. Who knows? Anything's possible. Let's get a weaver's workshop here so we can make it look nice. Or if they just made everyone start in planes and then the ground mode is the call-in mode rather than the planes. Ooh, switch it up. It's not a terrible idea. I kind of like it. I think that's the last comment. Yeah, that's the last one. When it comes to it. So that's the tech talk. Is there anything that any of you guys want to say before we switch over to playing War Thunder today? The good old podcast. This was a long one. We had a lot of stuff to do. We removed a lot of things, and you know, we got our first sheep. There you go. There's our first 4 sheep. We got Endline, Beatrix, Barbara, and Christina. So there you go. Gonna start getting their wool and start having a bit of fun with it. It's gonna be good. Looking forward to it, actually. You know what? Should actually move this. It's not a good idea to put it there. When did they change the mobility for EBRs? Off-road capability seems much better now. Quite a long time ago, actually, Bilbo. Maybe like 6 months ago. They're a lot better than they were, which is good. Pretty good. Quick one. What game would you recommend for chilling on before the updates? I can have a look at the ones that are on sale right now, because there's a huge Steam sale at the moment, if you didn't know. Because of Hearts of Iron 4, 70% off if you want to live your fantasies of taking over the world. Gates of Hell Ostfront is also 90% off at the moment. That one is a fantastic game. So that one's definitely up there as one of those which should be focused on. I think that one would be really good. Then they changed the mobility when they added that you could shoot the individual wheels off. Yeah, which was what, November, September last year. We can make a bit of an industrial sector here. There we go. Because the wool's going to be collected in this storehouse, I'm guessing. You finally spaded the 5.3 EBR, not as bad as I thought, kind of enjoyed it. Yeah, the EBRs are super fun. There's also Battlefield 1 Revolution, which is $3 right now. Doom is $2, so that one's also really fun. You also have The Walking Dead, I suppose, if you want to do that. Yeah, there's also the Anno games. The Anno games are crazy cheap at the moment, so you could play through those, which is something we're going to do more of in the future, which should be quite nice. That's also something which went on. Okay, so we'll end the tech talk here. We upgraded the tavern. We added some more houses to our area, which is really nice. And then also we've started to kind of move stuff around in terms of what we're going to do. So we're getting our farms ready for next year, maybe the year after. We have another sheep, which is wandering around. And then also we're getting our apple orchards sorted when people actually move in to these houses here. So everything is looking absolutely wonderfully. And yeah, we're going to... This place is starting to cook gas very, very slowly. We'll get the manor built next time, which will mean that this will go to 100%. Then we'll get people a lot happier. And then we could start collecting taxes and make them very unhappy. So we'll see what kind of goes on. So yeah, this is the end of the tech talk. Look after yourselves. Peace be with you. I'll see you next time.